I'm Tim, the Brand Weaver, and this is Branding for Breweries, the podcast that helps you grow your brewery, build a better brand, and connect with more drinkers. Each week, I'm joined by the brightest minds in the beer world, sharing practical tips to help your brewery stand out and sell more beer. Let's get stuck in.
Daftaboutcraft, the craft beer podcast.
What up, 24-hour party people? 'Tis I, Tim the Brand Weaver, and as always, you are listening to, watching Branding for Breweries, the show that helps your brewery thrive and do incredible things, thanks to the wonderful guests that join me. And the show would not be complete without an awesome shout out to Charles Fareham, the show sponsor with the most, providing wonderful hops and all the lovely bits and bobs that your brewery needs to make that delightful liquid. Now onto the show today, I am joined by the delightful Dave, who has popped onto the show before, but this time we're going to be talking about something a little bit different, how to make the most of beer festivals, because Dave has worked at loads of them thanks to Craft Brew Fest, and he's got a couple of pointers to share. Let's bring Dave in, let's have a chat, and let's help you guys and girls out. Dave, how are we doing, my man?
I'm very well, thank you. Very nice to be here. I love the intro bit where you talked about the brightest minds in the business. I like that.
Well, Dave, you are indeed one of the brightest minds in the business now, Dave. It is official.
Well, I'll take it. I'll take it.
So, Dave, dude, you have been supporting Craft Brew Fest for quite a while now. Many, many festivals under your belt, right?
So, Craft Brew Festival, they're into their fourth year, and I have been there at pretty much every single one of them. First, helping out a brewery, and then switching to the other side and helping the festival rather than the breweries.
Hey, fantastic. And this is what I want to talk to you about today, dude, because, so many breweries, they want to do festivals, they have done festivals, but there's a right way to do a festival and a wrong way, correct?
I think there is. I think what I've learned since doing this is that you can choose to rock up with a table and a couple of linders and pour some beer. And that's great. We can all have a nice time. But you're not making the most of your brand. You should see the setups that some people turn up with these days. They're immense. And I'm not on about your breweries like Brew York, who will bring their van to some events, which obviously is fantastic. But I'm on about little breweries who build bars especially for our festivals and all sorts. It is amazing. And if you can hone in on that, you're going to do really well.
Oh, I want to dive deep into that today, my man.
But there's a lot to it.
Well, let's start at the beginning, right? What should a brewery decide on before committing to an event?
I think you've got to know that you can do yourself justice. You've got to have everything. You've got to have everything on point. You've got to be on your game so much. Your beers have got to be perfect. Don't just rock up with a few old kegs you found out the back of the cold room. Brew beer for the event. Brew some special beers for the event. Obviously, you've got to make money out of this, and you can't go making the most hoptastic beers ever and throwing hundreds of pounds into your beer, because you're not probably going to make that money back. You've got to think about what you're doing. Don't just rock up. You've got to do yourself justice with the way your brand looks. Take the right staff there. Don't just turn up on your own to pour beer, because that is a rookie mistake. That is a mistake we've seen people make occasionally. And these events are flat out. You will be busy, and trying to do all that work on your own, that's hard, because you've got to pour the beer. You've got to speak to people. You've got to make the most of this opportunity. And it is an opportunity. It really is.
And so beer festivals, obviously, I've been to many of them myself as well. But what do you think breweries need to understand about how drinkers operate differently to like a tap room and a pub environment versus a beer festival?
It's worth pointing out as well that the traditional image of a beer festival has changed. I think Craft Brew Festival has changed that a lot. It's not just no longer old men sitting around in a dusty room drinking pints of cask beer. Nothing wrong with cask beer. I love it. But you say beer festival to a lot of people, and that's what they think. And yeah, I am talking camera events, because that is what a lot of people think a beer festival is still, and it's not. And I think the word festival has got massively confused in the whole beer arena, because a lot of beer festivals aren't festivals. They're just people sat around in a room drinking beer, and that does not make it a festival. Our events are festivals. There's beer, there's music, there's food, there's chatting. We have an amazing host. And I'm not just here to big up the Craft Brew brand, but I'm talking about what these events are. We have an amazing host in Cam, aka Beer Guide Worldwide, and he turns this into a festival. This is nothing like you've ever seen before. You haven't actually been to one, have you, Tim? You need to come.
I keep on trying, but I'm just such a busy boy. I got to get to one though.
I know. Where were we anyway?
But yeah, the difference between like someone who would go to a beer festival and then someone who might come to a tap room or a pub.
I think you go to a tap room, you go to a pub, you're going to go and you're going to order a pint, sit down with your pals maybe, drink it, then go and get another one. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You're not necessarily doing that at a beer festival. You've got 5 hours. You don't have to rush with the beers. There's plenty of other things to do. When you walk through the door at our events, you're given a lanyard. And this is great because this lanyard, every page is given over to each brewery and they list all their beers. So you can think about what you want to drink before you've even had your first drink. You can sit, and people do this. If they like lagers, for example, they'll go through the whole lanyard, tick all the lagers, then they'll go and find the lagers. And it's an event. You know, when you go to a pub, you're just sitting down having a drink. But this is an event. There's so much more to it.
Okay, so with that in mind then, and you talk about brewing certain beer styles, rocking up with a dedicated stand, like what do the best performing breweries at your events do that make them the best performers?
I think consistency is key. At the end of every event, we send out feedback form. And one of the questions we ask is which brewery did you like most? So we know the most popular ones. I'm not going to tell anybody, but we know who does the best. And I think it's the thing is, when you look at these names who top these charts each week, consistency is key. They're making good beers. They're quality, consistent beers, and they've got a nice presence at the events as well. It's simple things, really. It's not rocket science. It really isn't.
So when you talk about consistent beers, though, does that mean that the drinkers would have had them before and they know that it's good, or they have a few from that stand and they realize they're all good quality?
Yeah, I mean, with the best will in the world, some beers from breweries do differ. They're not the quality and consistency. It's to be honest, one of the names I've got in my mind. They are a bigger brewery, and you will see their beers in supermarkets, and maybe that's key. It's familiarity as well. People are more familiar with the brands, but that doesn't mean to say you can't be a small brewery and come along and do really well. In fact, one of my jobs at the festivals is to get hold of little breweries to come along and pour their beers. For me, I love it. That's what gets me going. A little man in his shed making beers, coming along and pouring them next to huge names like Ossit or Siren or whoever. It's amazing for them. Honestly, it's incredible. We've just come back. We've just finished our 10-week summer tour. It was Manchester on Saturday, and we had a little brewery from Manchester called Trail Brew Co. And on the other side of them was Siren. And they were saying, we get a little bit of imposter syndrome. I said, you don't need it. Your beers are fantastic. You're pouring next to Siren. That is amazing for you and your brand to be in the same arena as these breweries who are huge. It's fantastic for them.
With that,
you hear this a lot.
Go on, buddy. Crack on, please.
I was just saying, you hear this a lot. I hear a lot of people say, I've got imposter syndrome. We're in the same room as Cloudwater. We're not on their level. Everybody at a beer festival, certainly at our beer festivals, is on the same level. We don't mind who you are. You're all on the same level because you're all pouring beer. You're all being paid the same for your beer. Everything is a level playing field. And I love that because you get the little man pouring next to the big man. It's brilliant.
So say you are the little man. You're talking to the little man right now who's listening in now or later. How do they rock up to not, I don't want to say compete, but stand out against the giants of the Sirens and the Ossets and stuff? Because it's all well and good just being next to them. But like you say, just have a table and a Linda machine. That's not enough.
Right. I'm going to give you an example now. Mason Brewing from Cornwall. They did a few of our events last year. He created a bar. I touched on this before. He made this bar especially for our events. But it wasn't just any old bar. On the front of the bar, there was a sight glass, so you can see the colour of each beer before it's poured, and you can see the beer being pulled through that sight glass. That is such a fantastic little addition, and obviously it drew people in. Oh, look at this! I've never seen anything like this before. So we've got 4 beers on, 4 sight glasses. There's a red one, that's the sour. There's a yellow one, that's the hazy pale. But it was just something different. And breweries like that will have a queue all day because they're doing something different. We've had Only With Love turn up doing ice cream slushies and putting hundreds and thousands and God knows what on top of their beer. We had one recently in Nottingham, a little brewing company. They brought a slushy machine and they were putting their lager through the slushy machine. They had a queue all day. They sold out of the lager. And this is the sort of thing you can do. It's not huge expense to do these things. It's just, especially the ice cream one and the hundreds and thousands on top of the beer and all this. It was an ice cream float on top of this beer. You know, you can do things quite simply that will make you stand out.
And that's the thing, to be memorable, isn't it? Like, it's not just standing out, but we were talking about this offline, that you go to a beer festival, you're more than likely going to be drinking a few beers, and you might struggle to remember the ones that you like the most at the end of it. So how do you do that thing that the morning comes around, you've got a banging headache, but all of a sudden you still remember that one beer or that one brewery?
I tell you how. I tell you. Well, there's many ways of doing it, but one way people do it is with stickers. And this sounds ridiculous, stickers. Only With Love from Brighton. They go sticker mad when they come to our events. And they follow people around sticking stickers to the back of their T-shirts. You wake up the next morning and you're covered from head to foot in stickers. You're not going to forget Only With Love, are you? You're going to get online and buy a few cans from them. It's incredible. It's simple, but it really works.
And what about, like, kind of stickers is a super cheap way to do it, but do you get breweries rock up with more like merch and things like T-shirts, hats and stuff?
What we've noticed is that this has really taken off over the past couple of years. You know, you used to get breweries coming, they'd bring a few cans to sell, and they didn't really sell very well. But the whole merch thing is really now taking off. People do embrace buying cans. They've really got used to it, and they've really locked into it. They'll buy not just our hats, but anybody else's hat. You know, a lot of breweries will bring hats, T-shirts, sweatshirts, all sorts of merch, key rings. People really buy into it now, and it is worth doing that.
And is it worth having a bit where you're like, we're going to give this away as well? Like, do you see freebies going down well?
Yeah, I love. Do you know what I love? I love giving away T-shirts to people. People who I engage in a lot. I walk around and engage in a lot of conversations with people, and I talk about the different breweries there, and they tell me how great it is, or what they like, what they don't like, and if I've really got a link with that person, I'll say, hold on a minute, and I'll give them a hat or a T-shirt or whatever. And breweries can do the same thing. They can do exactly that. Yeah, it costs you a few quid, but that buys so much goodwill. You've got a supporter for life then.
Fantastic. I've got to give a shout out to Cam, who's watching on Instagram at the moment, saying cheers from Croatia. Of course, the man himself, the MC of the event.
Imagine hosting Craft Brew Festival in Manchester and then jumping on a plane at 6 a.m. the next day and living it up in Croatia while we're all sat back here. What a guy.
Incredible. Right, let's get back to value, though. This isn't about Cam, it's about giving the brewers the value that they need. So earlier on, you touched on team size. Don't rock up on your own. It's just impossible. Is there a perfect number? And if so, how many and what do they need to do?
I think the perfect number is 3. One, you're setting up with one person is a nightmare. Even if you've got the most simple setup, something can go wrong. Beer can fob. You might be missing a bit of kit that you forgot to put in. With two people or 3 people, you've got that covered. You've got a bit of wiggle room. One is just a no-no. Occasionally we do see it and they will struggle, but we will happily jump in and help people like this. But we do like people to be proactive and think about it. 2, 3 is the optimum number for me. You bring 2 people, you've got 2 people pouring beers. You've got a third person. You've then got somebody to engage with your customers as well. And that's what you really need to do, because you never know who you're serving. You could be serving somebody who could change your life, and not necessarily change your life, but I've seen this. You get talking to the right person. There's a lot of buyers at these events. People who work in the industry looking for your beers, looking for the next big thing. You could be talking to that person. It's so important that you treat everybody well and have the time to do that.
I was going to talk about this because obviously you get trade parts of an event at some festivals. I was at London Craft Beer Festival, the trade day recently. But do you think these trade buyers will go to an event like Craft Brew Fest and play it like secret shopper a little bit more to get a genuine reaction?
I've seen this, because we don't have a trade session. It's full on 5 hours, everybody in the same session. So you never know who's there. And I have seen breweries on a Monday morning after a craft brew festival get orders for thousands of pounds worth of beer to go into bars. I've seen this. It does work.
And I suppose that's when we were talking about like exposure for breweries when they come to an event. It's not just exposure for your next fan who might be buying a 4-pack off your a box of 12 online, but there are bigger opportunities that could come from it depending on who's at your stand.
Absolutely. You take Birmingham, for example, where we do 2 events a year. We've had people from restaurants in Birmingham come along and just wander around trying a few beers, and they'll find one they really like, and they want to buy it for their restaurant. Imagine that. Imagine you're making beer in your shed or your garage one day, and the next you've just had an order for a regular order for a certain amount of beer every month to go in a restaurant in the second city of England. How fantastic is that? And that all came about because you engaged with that person. You've got to do that.
And so when you say about engaging, like, do you recommend they stay at the stand, or should they be walking the floor and kind of like encouraging people over?
That's a very interesting one. You don't want to be desperate. You don't want to look desperate. That's what I'm thinking. You follow people around. That's maybe taking it a bit too far, but you do want to get people to come to your stand, and that's why the stand is important. You've got to engage people through the stand, and then when you get them there, then you've got to talk to them, find out about what they like, what has brought them to this event. They might just to come for a day out. That's lovely. They might have never had your beers before. They might want to have them again. Get a conversation going. Don't be scared to talk to people.
And so what about the lineup that you'd be recommending for breweries to put on at an event? Because we talked about like having a bit of a crowd pleaser or something to draw people in, which is a bit wacky. But if it's just a festival full of absolutely nuts beers, you won't please everyone, will you?
No, you won't. I think if you are a brewery that makes lagers, you bring your best lagers. If you're a brewery that focuses on stouts, you bring your stouts. You bring the best of what you do. If you make all sorts of styles, that's fine. Bring something of every genre. Bring a sour, bring a lager, bring a pale, bring a stout. Just show yourself in your best possible way. Don't brew something for the first time and take it to an event, because that could backfire terribly.
Is there a particular style that you see selling well in general across the events?
I think with a lot of beer festivals now, you are going to get a lot of hazy pales around 4 and 5% because of the price point of making those beers. When you go to a festival, breweries will often get paid literage, so they're being paid for how much beer they sell. So you don't want to put too many resources into making a single beer, or you're going to lose money. You've got to pitch it just right. But I don't think there's anything wrong with a lot of 4 and 5% beers at festivals, because there's people there drinking for a long time. I don't think you want too many 10% imperial stouts. We do want a few, but not too many.
It makes a very short event if it's just 10% imperial.
Exactly right. We had Cloudwater in Manchester this weekend, and they had an 11% stout, which is amazing, called Persistence is Utile. And I did say to a few people, yeah, this beer's great, but for goodness sake, do not stop with this beer, because it's going to end your day very quickly. Have one right at the end. And you've got to, as a drinker as well, you've got to pace yourself a little bit with these beers. But you do see a lot, like I say, you do see a lot of 4 and 5% beers, and I think that's fine. And a lot of people run scared of big beers. Actually, I've seen this as well. Oh, I don't want to have two. I don't want to drink. I'm here for 5 hours. I don't want to go in with big beers. So those ones in the middle do very well.
So then we're talking about good middle range, nice, attractive, unique element as well. And then what's the right number? 3 or 4 beers? Is that a good? So
we've seen people pour with just 2 beers, which is fine. We had B-Man Brewery from Oxford last year. Love B-Man.
Great brewery.
I know you know him as well, don't you? He's great guy, great beers. He's very small. He only had 2 beers to bring, so he brought 2 beers. 1 Linda, 2 beers. Great. That was fine. I'll tell you something that he did, actually. His partner was there doing artwork, drawing people live. What a great draw that is, to see somebody drawing your picture while you're drinking their beer. That was great. But then you get other breweries who will have 8 beers. I think 8's the most we've seen. A good number is 4, I would say.
Yeah. And so you just talked about B-Man there having the illustrations going on whilst they're there.
Yep.
activations like that, I would have thought have got to be almost essential. Like every brewery needs something. You know, off the top of my head, the Jiddler has been doing his bubble gun events for a long time. But what are those other things that you're seeing going around where you're like, that's a very cool idea to get people going, hey, what's that over there?
Do you know what I love? And this is so simple and so cheap. And we have a brewery that does this at every event. He's just done our last 4 events, a brewery called New Invention from Walsall in the West Midlands. He puts a bowl of crisps on the bar. A bowl of crisps. And that bowl is full all day. People are coming, having a crisp, and then they replenish it. They get a beer while they're there. That really works. I know that sounds so simple, but it works because you want crisps when you're drinking beer.
Yeah, I mean, you got to eat, right? You got to eat.
Yeah.
Well, what was the one when I was over in CBC? There was a couple of companies doing like hats, and they were just printing hats left, right, and center. I was like, God, yeah, that's a great one as well. Yeah. Just to walk away with a free hat. It's like dirt cheap.
That's a slightly more expensive one. I tell you another good one as well. Temporary tattoos. We had Neighbourhood Brewery doing this at a couple of events. Temporary tattoos. People put them on their head or their arms, and they'll put it on social media. And that's interesting. That's a bit different. And actually, that leads me on to another point. Social media. If you're at one of our events or any beer festival, you've got to make the most of it on social media as well. Get on there. Show people you're going to be there. Show them the before. Show them the during, and show them the after. Because there's so many people look at social media these days. You can't do beer festivals and not shout about it on social media. And I do see this. It's weird. My phone's been going off this morning with lots of people posting stuff from Manchester, but some breweries don't do much on socials around their presence at a festival. And I really think they're missing out then. Why would you not do anything?
Well, that is the hype machine, isn't it? I suppose from a perception side of things, it's great to see your breweries getting out there and doing things beyond just brewing the beer or being in the tap room.
Yeah. Get your if you're a little brewery, get some photographs with some of the other bigger breweries at the event. Get them to collab in the post on Instagram. Get yourself to a new audience.
There's also the thing, like we talk about merch and stuff, but if you like kind of run a little competition ahead, like if you come find us at the stand, say the secret buzzword, and you'll get a free hat or keyring or whatever it is. Yeah. Just another way to drive people towards you, isn't it?
Yeah. And when I think about it, there's something that one brewery does every time. He has a secret keg every time. And we're talking Atom Brewery from Hull. He has a secret keg, mystery keg. So on our lanyard, it says mystery keg. Come to us and find out what it is. So you're getting people, you don't know what it could be. A stout, could be a sour, you don't know. But you've got to go and ask the question. You've got to go and find out. Again, you're driving people to your stand. And that costs nothing.
And what about running competitions? Do you have many breweries running competitions from their stands as a way of kind of like collecting information from people who attend and stuff?
We don't actually, but that's a great idea. Yeah, that's another one that people could do, which is relatively cheap, isn't it? There's not many costs involved with that.
Well, yeah, sign up and you've got a chance of winning a 12-pack or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Because it leads me on to talking about like measuring ROI, because breweries will go to a beer festival and go, oh, it's great. Yeah, we had to fork out a little bit because there's accommodation, X, Y, and Z. But how do you know if it's been a good one for you? What are the great results you've seen from breweries attending your festivals?
First thing you want to see is a lot of empty kegs. Breweries love it when their kegs are empty at the end of an event. And I'll go around and talk to them. I'll say, how did you do? And I'll show you the empty kegs. Look at these. They're all empty. We've done so well today. They'll leave on a high feeling good. So you've got to get people to your stand. You've got to get them to drink. And then you've got those empty kegs. You feel as though you've achieved something then, because all that liquid you took is gone. I mean, how amazing is that? So that's the first thing. You've got to have a load of empty kegs. That will make you feel good.
Then do they have any way of like kind of following up afterwards, or is that very much on the brewery at that point to go, it's been good, now we need to remember or thank people for coming and all that stuff?
I think follow-up stuff's really important. You don't just really want to go and pour beer and then forget about it. You want to keep in people's consciousness, which is where your social media comes in again. Also take loads of pictures with your customers and get them all over social media. Make people remember you.
I suppose, yeah, because I've seen it even over the weekend. I know a few people who went to the event and they're tagging breweries left, right, and centre. That's a prime opportunity for a brewery to respond, going, "Thanks so much for coming to see us. Here's a 10% off code for the web store or whatever it is."
Yeah, exactly. Things like that. And I don't think you can I don't think you can necessarily measure that ROI on how much money you made. It goes far deeper than that. Making links with people that last. If you're at a festival and you've got a local tap room, maybe some customers there have never been to your tap room, but you can get them to come, and that's where you can make money off the back of it. Get them to come to your tap room. People who love beer are fanatical. They'll travel anywhere to go anywhere. I do it all the time. And my wife loves that. And then you can extend your core fan base. And also you can attract new people as well at our beer festivals or any beer festival. You've got people there who, especially at Craft Brew, who might not be beer people. And I think you really need those people. You need people, I hate to say it, but you do need normal people to buy your beer, not just beer people. Because unless you've got those normal, you're not going to survive in the long term. You're really not. You need to appeal to everybody. And beer festivals are a great way to do that.
I suppose there's also the aspect is if you're a local brewery and you're pouring at a festival, then you talk about building awareness for the tap room, which might be nearby. Yep. But there's nothing stopping you from doing a follow-on event or a morning after the event where you're like, we're doing bacon butties and a coffee because you're going to need it kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely right. Spot on. We had Lost Cause Brewing. They've opened a tap room in Wakefield. So as their tap room's about to open, they did our Christmas event last year to coincide with the opening of the tap room. And then you can drive people to the tap room after the event. And this is the sort of forward thinking you need to do.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Think about it as a connected journey, right? You talk about posting on social media beforehand. You've then got the event, but what happens afterwards to really make the full thing?
Yeah.
Dave, what do you think is like one thing you wish you saw more breweries doing at a festival event? Because there must be so many things they could do, but what do you think could really rock?
This is a bit of a light-hearted answer I'm going to give you, but it's also very important. I asked this question to the guys who run the festival. I help with the festival, but the big cheeses behind the scenes are Gaz, Gareth, and Simon. And I asked them this morning this very question: what would you like to see breweries doing more of? First answer was to read the information pack we send to you, please, because we send out a document of about 10 pages before every festival. It has got and I proofread these, so I know these inside out. It has got the answer to every question any brewery could ever wish to ask in there. And you'll get to an event and somebody will say, "Oh, what about this?" And we'll say, "Did you read the information pack?" "Oh no, I forgot." Read the information pack, please read it. It's all in there. It's so good. But it's light-hearted, but also important because you can make the most of your day if you know exactly how the day is going to unfold, and all those answers are in there. And also circuit breakers on your power as well is another one that Gareth and Simon said to mention.
So those are very functional ones. I was hoping you're going to be like, fire eaters and knife throwers and stuff like that.
Honestly, the guys who run the event, they're so professional. Gareth walks around telling people he's the electrician. Yet he may do all the electrics and stuff, but he's one of the two people behind it. But that's what they think about. They think about the logistics of running the event and what is needed to make it run smoothly. Mm-hmm. If you read the information pack and you use circuit breakers, they'll be your friend for life. So always do that if you're going to come to one of these events. But I know what you mean. Yeah. That's a light-hearted answer, but it's important.
No, dude, I get it. So let's revisit. Let's look at this journey together, and I'm going to try and feedback what I picked up from this conversation with you, Dave. But I want you to fill in the gaps if I've forgotten something, or if you can make it even better. So you've decided to do an event. You're going to start promoting it on social media that you're going to be there. You might have a little incentive to come and find you, discover something. One reason for people to come to your stand even before the day has begun. You're then at the event, you've read the pack, you've brought your circuit breaker, so you're being good boys and girls. You've rocked up with probably 3 team members. You've got around 4 beers on there. The beers, one's quite exciting, 3 might be good, stable ones that sell really well. You've done something with your stand. It's not just a tablecloth and a Linda machine. It's something that looks exciting and engaging. You might have a little bit of a activity or something which is going to draw people to it as well. Maybe not fire eating or throwing swords, but you know the idea. You've got a little bit of merch there. You're collecting information or maybe running a competition, which means you're going to start to get email addresses to follow up on as well. You're there as the brewery, you're talking to people, you're networking, you're giving the best impression because you never know who's going to be chatting to you. And then afterwards, you're making sure that you're responding to everyone who's tagged you or followed you or anything off the back of it, and potentially doing a follow-on event if you're a local brewery nearby to really make the most of it.
You want to start a brewery, mate? You've got it all tied up. This is start a brewery and do some festivals. You've got all the answers there.
Dude, well, there we go. I can just trim that to like 30-second clip and job done. That's what everyone needs from this point onwards, man. I think it's such an awesome thing to do. From a consumer, from a drinker side of things, I love these events. But from a brewery, if, like you say, they put a little bit more thought and attention into it, it can be a game changer for them.
What I love about our events and beer festivals in general is that people, on the whole, are really they're there for a party, but they don't go mad. They don't just start necking beers and stuff. It's not about that. It's about taking your time and finding new, interesting drinks. And I think breweries can really make the most of that.
Mm. Well, Dave, thank you so much for the time today, dude. If people want to check out Craft Brew Fest and see how you guys and girls do things a little bit differently, where can we send them?
Well, there's loads of footage online. If you just Google Craft Brew on the socials, you see footage. We have videographer and photographer at every event, so there's always stuff on the socials afterwards. We may have just finished our summer tour, but Oktoberfest starts in just a couple of months, and we'll be off with 4 events kicking off in Buxton on the 26th of September. We're also heading to Lancaster, Middlesbrough, so 4 events for that. And then we start to think about Christmas, and there'll be Christmas events. And then there may just be something a little bit interesting. An international event may be coming at the start of next year.
Oh, whoa, you've piqued my interest there. And I'm definitely going to have to get to one of these now. I've got
craftbrewfestival.co.uk. It's all there.
Fantastic. Dave, once again, my man, thank you so much for the time. It's been a really valuable chat. I hope everyone who's tuned in said hi on Instagram or wherever they are. They've loved it. Stay tuned, guys and girls, for more episodes of Branding for Breweries, because we'll be back very, very soon. Cheers, Dave. Rock on.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Branding for Breweries. If you got something great from it, hit follow, like, and subscribe on your favorite streaming app. Or even better, leave a review, share it with your brewery pals, or get in touch, because I want to chat to you. Rock on!